In the darkness of the night, 6 Ukrainian UJ-26 Beaver drones silently crossed Russian airspace toward a colossal target, a 38-car military train loaded with fuel and ammunition enough to devastate an entire city block. It was a high-risk mission, facing the most advanced Russian electronic warfare, capable of cutting GPS and satellite signals, leaving operators completely in the dark. But the Beavers carried a trump card: frequency hopping technology, switching channels thousands of times per second, something Russian systems like the Repellent 1 simply could not capture. The plan was divided into 2 fronts. Part of the drones would act as decoys to draw defenses, while the others would fly below radar, using the Seversky Donets river valley as an invisible corridor. The first phase was precise: destroy a transformer in Orlovsky and plunge the entire Russian air defense into a 20-minute blackout. That was enough to clear the path to Salsk. There, at the exact moment of the garrison's shift change, the drones attacked in pincer formation, hitting locomotive, fuel, and ammunition. The chain explosion lit up the entire station, reducing to 0-1 of Russia's most valuable logistical asset. This is the story of a mission that, on the surface, seemed impossible. The objective was clear and terrifying: a Russian military train with 38 cars, a steel serpent loaded with enough firepower to flatten an entire block, armored vehicles, military trucks, ammunition cars, and fuel tanks aligned like a mobile threat. Destroying that convoy before it reached the front line meant preventing massive destruction and buying strategic time for the defenders. The mission, therefore, was not just daring, it was absolutely necessary. But reaching this target required defeating something that, in many ways, was more dangerous than artillery itself: Russian electronic warfare. When 3 of the Ukrainian drones crossed into enemy airspace, the control room screens simply went dark. GPS, satellite signals, telemetry, all disappeared. Operators who seconds before were tracking every movement found themselves staring at black screens with no indication, no compass. The digital silence was a tangible threat. To understand what happened, imagine a room filled with antennas and invisible waves. Russia has systems designed specifically to steal navigation, jam signals, and, in some cases, take control of remote vehicles. In the case of these drones, Russian defenders tried to use a system that transmitted false commands to force landings or return. It was a sophisticated trap, electronic warfare that, if applied well, could turn advanced aircraft into inert toys. Even so, the drones sent on this mission were not ordinary equipment. The operation did not rely solely on the machine's speed, but on a set of tactics and technologies designed precisely to resist this kind of interference. The central idea, to maintain control and coordination, even when electronic eyes and compasses were ripped away, was one of the pillars of the plan. The 38-car train was a high-value target. To hit it would require dancing in the dark, relying on planning, redundancy, and a touch of technical boldness. As the narrative unfolds, it's crucial to remember: this is not an action tale where everything works out by luck. It is the meticulous application of intelligence, risk analysis, and technology to neutralize one of the most feared defenses: electronic interference. And it is precisely this clash between a gigantic target and an invisible defense that makes the mission so tense and dramatic. Now that we understand the target's major obstacle, electronic warfare that blinded operators, it's time to see how the Ukrainians responded. In the next segment, we'll take a close look at the secret weapon of this operation, the UJ-26 Beaver, and the technology that allowed the drones to laugh at electronic hijacking attempts. The UJ-26 Beaver is not a delivery drone. It is a military aircraft built for dangerous missions. Reinforced frame, thermal and low-light cameras, shaped charge warheads calibrated for armored targets, and crucially, redundant navigations that don't rely only on GPS. Throughout the original plan, it appears as the central piece, not for visual sophistication, but for its resistance to electronic countermeasures and ability to continue the mission even when screens go black. The advantage that really saved this operation was frequency hopping. Imagine your control transmission as a radio station. Normally, it plays on a fixed frequency. An enemy jammer only needs to tune in to that frequency to silence. Frequency hopping means switching stations thousands of times per second, so fast that while an enemy receiver tries to lock onto one frequency, the signal has already jumped to another. In practice, this turns the drone's control into an accelerated, fragmented conversation that is virtually impossible to intercept or spoof in real time. Interestingly, this idea has historical roots. The technique was conceptualized during World War II by a Hollywood actress, and today it is applied in modern versions within military radio link. The adversary deployed a specific weapon against the Repellent 1 system, designed to detect UAV signals and, if possible, hijack control by transmitting false commands to the vehicle: land, return, shut down. In the scene described in the original script, Russian operators saw their screens flash with capture command, standardized signals trying to seize the control link, but the Beavers did not obey. Their control links hopped frequencies so fast that by the time Repellent 1 locked onto one entry point, the conversation had already shifted to another room. The hijack failed. Technically, this required coordination, enough encryption to prevent replay attacks, synchronization algorithms between station and drone so both would know which frequency to jump to next, and redundant sensors, inertial plus thermal vision, to maintain navigation when external signals dropped. In short, robust hardware, software built for electronic warfare, and tactics that exploited small windows of vulnerability in Russian system. With the Beavers shrugging off hijacking attempts, the mission had a real chance to continue. In the next segment, we'll see how the formation split and how this technological edge was combined with an infiltration plan that exploited radar blind spots to reach the train. 6 drones set out in formation, a serpent divided into 2 bodies, with a clear mission: deceive, distract, and break through enemy defenses to reach the train. The flight plan was simple in description but surgical in execution. The northern group would act as bait, drawing attention and enemy forces to the obvious route. The southern group, smaller and stealthier, would follow an alternate path designed to escape radar detection. Each pilot knew exactly their role and the cost of a mistake. Visual coordination between aircraft and synchronization with ground intelligence were crucial. Stealth didn't rely only on a low profile. It depended on study and physics. Ukrainian intelligence mapped all radar positions along the corridor in detail, fixed points, mobile radars, and the communication lines that supported battery, and searched for invisible corridor created by terrain, vegetation, and infrastructure. These corridors were places where terrain blocked radar beams or created reflections and noise that masked a small, hot signal like a drone. Flying through these gaps required a level of precision bordering on applied mathematics to risk. 2 concepts were central: terrain map and infrastructure. In the first, terrain, valleys, tree lines, slopes, hid the drone from radar horizons. In the second, human-made elements like railways, tracks, and power lines generated electromagnetic interference and echoes that helped confuse scanning systems. The drones of the southern group exploited exactly this. They flew low along the Seversky Donets River Valley and followed train tracks, using the landscape itself to reduce their radar signature. The margin of error was microscopic. To remain below the main beam of spoon rest radar in Salsk, pilots kept a precise altitude, 122 meters, chosen to stay just under the main search focus. Climbing a few meters higher would put them inside the coverage zone. Descending too much could expose them to obstacles or make visual navigation impossible. At high speed, following tracks and rivers in the rain, every terrain reference confirmed the route, a set of points that together formed the mission's lifeline. While the northern group lit alarms and forced defenders into quick decisions, the southern group slipped through radar shadows, turning physics and infrastructure into invisible allies. But this infiltration would only clear the way if something else weakened defenses in that area. And that's exactly what the next phase of the operation sought, temporarily blinding the enemy's eye. In the next segment, we'll see how an apparently secondary target was chosen to create the window that would allow the train attack. Approaching the main objective, the operation entered its first and perhaps most elegant phase, the blackout. The choice of the secondary target was no accident. The Orlovsky substation housed a 330 kilovolt transformer, the true electrical heart of that region. Taking that single piece of equipment offline meant more than turning off lights. It was the best way to silence, for precious minutes, the eyes and nerves of Russian air defense. At dawn, the 3 drones assigned to this task positioned themselves with surgical. The approach was calculated to the centimeter. The trio formed a pincer 2 kilometers from the target. The lead Beaver deliberately climbed to 300 meters, a luminous decoy intended to draw all enemy focus, while the other 2 maintained low profiles and skimmed movements, approaching from opposite sides to confuse any local defense. Orlovsky was not defenseless. There were 2 Zu-23 positions, automatic cannons ready to punish any low-altitude contact. But these cannons, though lethal against slow targets, depended on a mix of manual aiming, predictability, and stable power. three things the attackers planned to deny. By making the leader visible, the defenders swung their barrels and opened fire. Tracer rounds cut the sky. The sound of gunfire confirmed the decoy had worked. Meanwhile, the other two Beavers crept forward. One climbed and appeared just 100 meters from the fence, forcing the Zu-23s to point upward, limiting their movement. The other ripped through the space between high-voltage lines, forcing defenders to hesitate to avoid hitting critical cable. The final sequence was almost mechanical from training. The first strike hit the transformer base, rupturing the cooling system. A second blow pierced the top, compromising the high-voltage bushing. The third drone struck the control cabinet that could isolate the damage. The combination, shaped charges, coordinated impact points, and distinct angles, turned cooling oil into superheated vapor and triggered a domino explosion. Giant arcs leaped between components, protection relays tripped, and connected substations disconnected in cascade. The immediate result: 20 minutes of operational darkness. Radars flickered, computers rebooted, data links were lost. Systems dependent on electrical support, including 6 air defense points in the area, notably a Panzer in Salsk, had their capacity dramatically reduced. Emergency generators roared, but needed time to stabilize sensors and radars. In that information vacuum, the window for the next strike opened. With the defense network momentarily blinded, the 3 surviving drones regrouped and accelerated toward the main target. In the next segment, we'll see how this 20-minute window was exploited to strike the 38-car train, the decisive phase of the mission. The Transformers' destruction was not a side effect, it was the key. For 20 full minutes, the electronic coverage supporting local air defense was compromised. Radars reset to reboot modes, data links wavered, and crews scrambled to restart generators and restore sensor. This was the window planners expected, and the chosen timing was no accident. The strike was scheduled for 2:33 a.m. at the peak of the Pantsir S-1 crew shift change in Salsk, when human vigilance and automation normally show the greatest weakness. The 3 remaining Beavers reached Salsk's railway yard, moving with the discipline of small projectile. Thermal cameras displayed the scene in shades of white and gray. The hot locomotive at the front, cargo cars lined up, dark spots indicating fuel tanks, and a central cluster identified as ammunition. Every operator in the command center saw in sync the same markers, numbered targets, distance, and vector, and confirmed the planned sequence. The first strike was surgical. Beaver number 1 hit the locomotive's cab and propulsion. Within seconds, the train was immobilized, power lines cut, brakes locked, and internal communication interrupted. The priority was to stop the convoy's mobility. Without the locomotive, the cars became a static line of fuel and explosives, exposed and unable to disperse. While passengers and any crew still tried to grasp what was happening, the second Beaver struck the third car, a fuel tank. The resulting explosion opened a river of fire, licking the tracks, and created heat clouds that distorted optical readings and partially blinded nearby thermal sensors. The fire proved to be an amplifier. Heat and flames spread destruction laterally, isolating convoy sections and preventing any organized response. The third and decisive strike targeted the danger's core, an ammunition car in the train's center. The impact triggered a sequence of internal detonation, pops, blasts, and major structural collapses, turning the convoy into a series of chain explosions. The result was immediate and total: shattered cars, deformed tracks, and a burst of energy confirming the train was no longer an operational threat. Within minutes, the site was dominated by fire, smoke, and fragments. The operation had achieved its strategic objective, decisively neutralizing a powerful convoy before it reached the front line. But the mission didn't end with the explosion. Risks remained, communications had to be recovered, and the difficult decision of what to do with the remains. In the next segment, we'll analyze the immediate consequence: attempts to evacuate or recover what was left of the train, risks of secondary detonation, and how the loss of that convoy affected enemy logistics and morale. The official response didn't take long. The next morning, Russia's Ministry of Defense announced its defenses had shot down 22 drones overnight, a narrative of defensive success, crafted to cover the reality. But images told another story. Videos recorded from a distance showed the railway line in flames, destroyed cars, and a smoke column so dense it was captured by satellite. The claim of victory clashed sharply with visual evidence. Even the local governor, pressured by residents who witnessed the explosion, admitted there had been damage at a train station, a softened version, carefully chosen not to acknowledge the blow's magnitude. Yet the essential was not in official, but in what was achieved. This operation showed that intelligence, planning, and innovation can defeat systems that, in theory, are superior. The UJ-26 Beaver drones, combined with division tactic, the strategic blackout, and coordinated execution, brought down a wall of defenses that included long-range radars, advanced electronic warfare, and Pantsir S-1 system. The battlefield logic was inverted. At the cost of a few drones, an entire convoy was destroyed. The lesson is clear. In modern war, it is not just firepower that defines the outcome, but the ability to exploit vulnerabilities creatively. Ukraine demonstrated that against a larger and better equipped adversary, adaptation and daring can turn weakness into advantage. The mission against the Salsk train was not just a logistical blow, it was a reminder that war is also a contest of intelligence, where innovation, calculation, and conscious risk can be as decisive as tanks and missiles. And so, in the trail of fire and silence left on the tracks, this operation enters history as an example that the impossible, with preparation and strategy, can become reality. If you want to stay updated on more information about the military world and its reality, subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell.